So, the rest, other than Raul, the rest of the cast for chess was so good. Like, you could not have picked anyone better. Like, Ramin was fantastic as Anatoly, and I couldn't believe, like, because sometimes when when shows do vice versa, shows like, okay, this person's from this country and this person's from another country, they still keep like their regular accents or like an American accent. So when both Bradley Dean and Ramin, sorry, um, were doing their Russian characters, they had Russian accents and even sang in Russian accents, and they were so good. Like, it wasn't, because sometimes you'll listen to other shows where people are playing like Russians or Germans or some other character, but they're like stereotypes. These weren't stereotypes. They had to have somebody that was like a voice coach or a linguistics coach, because it was so good. Like, especially Bradley. Bradley looked so Russian, and I've seen like his pictures from other shows, and he looks so different as his character in chess. And I suck because I'm blanking so hard right now. Like, and I don't have the playbill right in front of me, even though it's like right over there, and I'm too lazy to get up. But to go get it. But hey, he was like Russian, like Russian. Like, if you would have thought he was from there. And I'm like, what? And then Ramin too, like, oh, and he was, oh, especially Anthem. Holy shit, was Anthem good. Like, oh, that end of Act 1. Wow. Like, he was so fantastic. Um, and then you had like Karen, as Florence. And oh my God, she was just hitting it. She was like, um, strikes, like if this was bowling, home runs every friggin' time. Every time she was singing, and by the and she had a cold too, so she wasn't stage dooring at all. And I don't blame her. When you're sick, you just got to put on a show, and I don't blame her for not stage dooring, because I know there's some people wanting to meet her. I wanted to meet her, but no big deal. I'd rather see her perform. I don't want her to get sick or stressing out because, oh, I gotta piece people out in the stage door. No, I want people to perform at their 100%. Um, I mean, she was killing it, and then um, oh, Ruthie Ann, she's so sweet. I loved her Svetlana. Um, she was just so adorable as Svetlana and so good. And I know some people were bringing up, well, Ramin was stage dooring and not Ruthie Ann was uh, stage dooring, and yeah, she was, and we, me and a group of people were talking to her. I mean, she's 7 months pregnant, and she has bronchitis, and there was like a review that kind of made me mad because they said, oh, she was the weakest, and they're almost saying like poor performance, and I'm like, dude, she's 7 months pregnant and she has bronchitis, and she was still kicking ass on stage. And I don't care who you are, she was giving it her all, and she was meeting people, and she was just like, she was amazing. I don't care what these high end critics or whatever are saying. Ruthie Ann killed it. I don't care. Even if she's like Act 2, who cares? She killed it. She's about to have a baby, and she has bronchitis, and she's sick, and she still gave it her all. I thought she was fantastic. So screw those people. She was great. And then, like, my other favorite part of the show was definitely like Bryce Pinkham, and I thought it was genius. What Danny did with the Arbiter was to make him the narrator, because there was like one part in the show where he was like, "Now I transform into the other player of the show." I'm like misquoting, but people who've seen it know what I mean. And then he like does these weird like body movements, like he's having like an out of body experience, and like he's like, now I become the Arbiter, and then the Arbiter. Now, truthfully, with Bryce, The Arbiter was his weakest song because it's such a rock number, and you need to have a rock voice. Like Raul definitely has a rock voice. But here's the most important but. Because Bryce is so out there and he's such an entertainer, like he he has these like comedic abilities, like from, like, if you placed him in like a 1930s movie or a 1940s like comedy movie, he would fit right in. He has this slapstick ability, even like vaudeville, even like 1920s like silent films. Like there's like a Charlie Chaplin like slash Harold Lloyd comedic thing that he does, because he also uses his face too, but he uses his entire body. So when he was doing the Arbiter, he was like blah and thrusting and like doing these like moves. And and my favorite part was like when the electric guitar, and he's just like standing up and he's like and like he was just doing like all of that. He was like so extra. He was so extra. Like, even though it was his weakest like song, it was one of like the funny, and it meant to be funny too. It was like one of his funniest things. And then also too, like, because he had a song right after one night at Bangkok, and he just came out with his little handkerchief, and he's like, whew, and I was like, same, and he was such a joy to watch, and I love, like, I mean, I know my main focus was Raul, but it was such a joy. Like, that's how you know a show is good. When, even though you're there for like a particular performer, like I was there also too for Karen Olivo because In the Heights is my jam. Um, and when you are entertained by everybody else, it makes a show flow. Because I will say the same thing about my other favorite show, Groundhog Day, and also SpongeBob the Musical. When other people bring in their A game, and every single person did, it makes a show go. Because I was worried with a almost 3 hour like runtime, because sometimes when, like, no lie, I know a lot of people love this musical, but the band's visit is like, it's not 3 hours long. I think it's like 2 hours or something, or hour and a half, something like that. It's slow. It is so slow, and it's one of my least favorites. Even though I know everybody and their mom loves it, but this chess is 3 hours, and it felt like 5 freaking minutes. It felt like it like your life flashed before your eyes. That's how quick it goes. And praise Danny Strong, because like I've seen chess before because of other videos and stuff, like especially the one with Raul, when Raul did it 15 years prior in 2003. And um the story is like confusing. You're like, what? And even when you read the plot for chess, you're like, the fuck? Like, what? With Danny's version, like, he added dialogue, and there's like some like stupid like review on Broadway Worlds, and it said, too much dialogue, or blah, it's too talky. And I'm like, thank God there's dialogue too, because that also enhanced some of the funniness too, especially with Raul and like Karen as Freddie and Florence. And it, it added more info that you needed, and it added more points to the story that made sense. Like, you understand why Freddy is why he's crazy. Um, and why Florence is sick of his shit. Anatoly's like, I'm only here for the game. I'm not here for, I don't care what country I am. I'm just like, I love chess. Um, and even with, the Arbiter and all the other characters too. But um it was just so good. It was so good. And I agree with Amanda, and I agree with like everyone else prior. Um this show, there's probably a few tweaks that does need to happen, but I don't, they're probably, I feel, minor. Like, it would, minor tweaks that would make the show better. Um and that's up to whoever runs the show. But I thought it was awesome, but I know there's other people that can make it elevated to like, holy shit, like, awesome. um but it really does need to come to Broadway. Like, because finally you got a story that's understandable. That's why, like, every time Broadway almost comes to chess, or every time chess goes to Broadway, sorry, I can't talk. Um, then, like, people just fall out or whatever. It's kind of weird, but then the story doesn't make sense. And when the story doesn't make sense to like the performers, it's not gonna make sense to the audience. And the story makes sense. Like, you don't even need to know other previous versions of chess to understand this story. And we need to give a round of applause. Like, thank you, Danny. Thank you for making this show understandable now. Like, it's so easy a caveman can understand it. Um, I do agree. This show needs to come to it needs to come to Broadway really bad. And if it does, um I will buy tickets, or I'm gonna rush it because rushing is cheaper. Um, so I'll definitely be first in line to be like, give me my ticket. And I hope they can get the original cast, but like, I don't know with a couple, because I know Ramin's doing something in Australia, and Ruthie's just about to have a baby in like a couple months, so that might not be feasible, even though she was such a sweet Svetlana and I want her back. Um, so yeah, so that was the other experience with chess.